Industrial high-temperature solar thermal power plants power facilities based on energy from the sun. These power systems collect and concentrate sunlight to produce the high-temperature heat needed to generate electricity. All solar thermal power systems have solar energy collectors with two main components, the first being reflectors or mirrors that capture and focus sunlight onto the second, a receiver. The main goal of this technology is to run traditional power plants on an environmentally friendly energy source rather than using fossil fuels to generate the plant. There are three different types of industrial high-temperature solar thermal power plants, but they all generally work the same. A heat transfer fluid is heated and circulated in the receiver and used to produce steam, which is then converted into mechanical energy in a turbine which powers a generator to produce electricity. The first type of system is a linear concentrating system. This system collects the sun's energy using long rectangular curved mirrors. The mirrors focus sunlight onto receivers or tubes that run the length of the mirrors. The concentrated sunlight heats a fluid flowing through the tubes. The fluid is then sent to a heat exchanger to boil in a conventional steam turbine generator to produce electricity. A linear concentrating collector power plant has a large number of collectors in parallel rows that are typically aligned in a north-south orientation to maximize solar energy collection. This configuration enables the mirrors to track the sun from east to west during the day and concentrate sunlight continuously onto the receiver tubes. Solar power towers are the second system. A solar power tower system uses a large field of flat, sun-tracking mirrors called heliostats to reflect and concentrate sunlight onto a receiver on top of a tower. Some power towers use water as the heat transfer fluid. The thermal energy storage capability allows the system to produce electricity during cloudy weather or at night. The solar dish or engine system is the third type. This system uses a mirrored dish similar to a very large satellite dish, but it's composed of smaller flat mirrors formed into the dish shape. This concave shape directs and concentrates sunlight onto a thermal receiver, which absorbs and collects the heat. This heat is then transferred to an engine generator. Solar dish or engine systems always point straight at the sun and concentrate the solar energy at the focal point of the dish. A solar dish's concentration ratio is much higher than linear concentrating systems, and it has a working fluid temperature higher than 1,380 degrees Fahrenheit. The power generating equipment used with a solar dish can be mounted at the focal point of the dish, making it well suited for remote locations. How it makes a difference. Industrial high-temperature solar thermal power plants make significant differences in the world. Primarily, they use cleaner energy rather than relying on the burning of fossil fuels as a power source, which in turn produces pollution. This system of power provides a reliable energy source throughout the day and night in key locations around the world. Additionally, as energy prices rise, climate problems increase, and demand for electricity grows, more and more countries are looking for alternative energy sources. Thus, this energy system can be a great example for those desperate countries. Implementation. With such large systems, an abundant amount of land is needed for implementation. These types of solar panels need between 4 and 16.5 acres per megawatt. In comparison, many wind facilities can function alongside crops without disrupting the undergrowth due to the small amount of space needed for implementation, whereas solar panels cover the ground almost entirely, allowing little sunlight to come through due to its thick metal composition and thus disrupting the ecosystem below. However, land impacts from this scale of solar systems can be minimized by siting them at lower quality locations such as brownfields or abandoned mining land. They're also best suited in dry, sunny, desert-like environments. At night, industrial high-temperature solar thermal power plants use stored energy from during the day to power the plant at night when the sun isn't present. Technological obstacles. The primary technological obstacle in mass implementation of the system is location for construction. Oftentimes, these systems can damage or disrupt present ecosystems and result in habitat destruction or endangered species loss. Siting is the need to locate things like wind turbines or solar farms on pieces of land. Doing so requires legal matters such as negotiations, contracts, permits, and community relations, all of which are time-consuming and sometimes difficult to carry out. Another obstacle is the lack of newer technology to accommodate these new alternative energy systems. For instance, the power lines and infrastructure needed to transfer electricity from where it's generated to where it's consumed are built to serve large fossil fuel and nuclear power plants, not the new solar and wind ones. Along with technological obstacles, this system also encounters political and economic obstacles as well. Climate change and renewables are still very controversial topics in politics today. Especially in the U.S., skepticism towards the reliability and efficiency of solar power is present, and therefore makes implementation and support for such systems very difficult. As for economic obstacles, the established nature of existing technologies presents a formidable barrier for renewable energy. For most of the last century, U.S. electricity was dominated by certain major players, including coal and nuclear energy. So, solar, wind, and other renewable resources need to compete with these wealthier industries that benefit from existing infrastructure, expertise, and policy. Thus, it's a difficult market to enter.